All right, welcome back, everyone. We are joined by Shailesh. Can you introduce yourself?
Hey folks, this is Shailesh here. I am a product manager on QuickSight, um, and I primarily focus on data and machine learning components of QuickSight. So excited to be here. Thank you, Nathan and Kunal, for having me.
Awesome to have you. Nathan, I think you're muted.
Thank you, thank you.
No worries.
So, welcome to the show. I think first thing I want to start out with, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. What is QuickSight? What is the problem that it solves for me as a user of QuickSight?
So yeah, I think I can give you two definitions. One is, QuickSight lets you create BI dashboards easily, right? That's a one-line definition. But
Well,
what
sorry to interrupt here, but you say BI dashboards. When we say that, what is BI for those who may
Yeah,
not be familiar with that terminology?
right. So BI stands for business intelligence, but let me take an example to decipher with just one line that I said, right? So on uh, QuickSight helps you make sense of your data, right? So you have data sitting in from various sources. So you might have transaction data sitting in your database. You have data about your customers in, let's say, Salesforce or Marketo. You have your tickets or support data sitting in Zendesk or Jira, right? So you have all of this data in different applications or different stores. Now, data just sitting there doesn't really add value to your business. uh, what add value to your business is answering question on the data. How can you improve your business? How can you improve the decisions that you want to take on your business, right? So that's really what moves your business from the data perspective, and QuickSight lets you do that, right? So on one end you have data sources where you have all of your data about your business, and QuickSight helps you decipher that information, gets you answer to those questions pretty easily. So that's really what QuickSight is.
So, just as an example here, if you have businesses who want to find out, for example, their customer acquisition costs, right? This is data that's already in their system. Now they can use QuickSight to automatically have that number for them that multiple teams can use now. Um, you mentioned some terminology there, data set, data sources. Can you just walk us through the differences here for people new to this?
Absolutely. So um, the data sitting in your sources and ultimately showing up in your QuickSight in forms of graphs or dashboards or visualization so that you can really see the data in action, right? But in between, the data needs to be ready to be in form of those visualizations, right? So you need to prepare your data. You need to join the data from different sources. Let's say you want to join data from your support and your sales, and you want to find or make sense of it, right? So the middle layer that helps you prepare the data and be ready for the visualization is really what is called as data set in QuickSight, right? So data set helps you join the data together. It helps you prepare the data. So for example, if you want to make the columns or descriptions, make it user friendly, you can do that. You can transform the data. You can do calculations. You can say, hey, profit is equals to the income that I'm making or the cost that I'm incurring, right? So that's really what my profit is. And I don't have profit as information, but that's what you can really do in data set level, right? At the data set level. So that's what really data set is, that it helps you transform that data to be ready for QuickSight dashboards and visualizations.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. And I like what you said about data from different locations because I've had to do so many of these queries before in the past where, let's say, we had a list of users in the system, and then we also had from a separate marketing system, we had a list of like, well, the user saw this ad campaign and then signed up. And then I would get asked to be like, well, we need to get this data and figure out how did this ad convert in terms of user discovering a new feature or user signing
Mhm.
up on something. And I remember that was always very challenging to do. So if
Yeah.
I understand correctly, you're saying that QuickSight helps me with that.
Yes, so you're absolutely right. So if you are a business owner and you want to find out how my business is doing, right? Typically, you rely on some technical person who can do that for you. But that's really the power of QuickSight, is that it transforms the data without you having to have all of the deep understanding of the data, right? So you can just use our easy to use UI, which we have carefully crafted for every user, be it technical or non-technical user, so they can use it alike and not having to be familiar with all of the data concepts, right? So the BI or data sets, you don't need to know all of these concepts upfront. QuickSight helps you navigate and introduce you to these concepts, even if you're not familiar, right? So you can answer those questions without having to rely on somebody else, and then just connect it and start asking questions.
And I just wanted to touch upon who are the different users for QuickSight, right? So we mentioned obviously the readers; these are the people who consume that data. But now I'm guessing we have the authors, right? And is there any other personas here?
Well, so there are users around, like data engineering personas also. I've seen them using and working on data sets specifically, the areas that I work very closely with. But there is a very big overlap between authors and, so to say, data engineers, right? So authors sometimes work on data folks work on analysis and dashboards. So as the previous point that I was making, right, we have this deliberate attempt of making it super easy for anybody who is non-technical or technical alike. So there's no real distinction, but yes, there are readers, what I call as people who want to make decisions. So line of business, I'm a marketer, marketing manager, all of those folks, right? Product manager are mostly readers. Then there are authors, typically analysts working and creating these dashboards. And then there are data folks who want to join this data and curate the data.
So I see a couple of questions came through that I want to address really quick. First one, this one should be easy one. Does QuickSight have anything to do with Redshift?
Absolutely. So Redshift is one of the data sources that I talked to you about initially, right? So all of your data is sitting in Redshift. Now imagine, you are doing a business with transactions, or just like Amazon has e-commerce business, you have all of your transaction data sitting in Redshift, right? And you also have a marketing team, right? And the marketing team wants to understand how my campaigns are running, right? So you can combine that data with Redshift in the dataset layer, the one I talked about, and you can easily, seamlessly connect it to QuickSight and then start asking questions, right? So all of your data sitting in Redshift comes alive with QuickSight.
Awesome. And so this question is about the differentiator. So Jay Jamal says, there's plenty of tools out here that do this type of thing, open source BI tools. What's the differentiator for QuickSight? So maybe you could talk a little bit about, what makes QuickSight special here.
Yeah. So QuickSight, of course, in one line, as I described, was, it helps you with interactive business intelligence or dashboarding or analytics, right? But the real power of QuickSight is that it's completely serverless. You don't have to manage anything, right? It automatically scales to thousands and thousands of users and millions and billions of records. So it works on enterprise scale. So you don't have to manage the scale or servers of anything that you want to manage, which comes with your growing business, right? So QuickSight helps you overcome all of that, and you focus on not the backend technology and setting up the software and pricing. All of that is seamlessly taken care of, and what you have to worry about is about your business. So we want you to focus on your business and not on software or servers or infrastructure, right? So that's really the beauty of it. And later in the segment, my colleague Deepak is also going to talk about how really differentiating technologies like QuickSight Q, which helps you ask questions in seamless language. And again, I don't want to steal the thunder from Deepak, but these are some of the differentiators that Deepak is going to talk about later.
Shailesh, let's let's get into the meat of what we want to talk about today.
Yeah,
what are you
what's the
here?
new announcement?
Yeah. What are you here introducing?
Perfect. So I'm going to talk about, I talked about the data layer, specifically, and that's really the preparatory layer for users who can convert the data sitting in sources and be ready for the visualizations, right? So I want to talk about this data layer today on how you can bring in data from different sources, how you can combine the data. So we recently released a functionality called dataset as a source. So previously you could only connect to the source, but now you can also use the data sets as sources for other data sets and then continue building on top of it, right? So that's really what I wanted to talk about and show live in action.
All right, so I like that word, live in action. Let's see if we can bring up the screen share here, and let me adjust the screen layout a little bit. Okay, all right. So my understanding is you're going to show us a demo of how this works.
Yes, I will. So let me just take 30 seconds and also show what I just talked about QuickSight, right? So QuickSight, as I said, makes your data speak, right? You can narrate stories around your data, what your business is doing, how it is doing. So you can create really nice dashboards to tell your story. So this is what an end product in QuickSight would look like. So this is a dashboard. You have various filters that you want to segment and slice and dice your data about. You can see all of the nice visualization that narrates your story. You can also go deeper down, in details. If I want to find out how my business as a summary is doing, now it breaks it down by what are the customer details and the product details, right? And if I want to break that down by geography, I can do that by segmenting by different regions, east and west. So this is what an end product of your data sitting in something like Redshift, right, will look like, right? So this would be the end product. Now, what goes behind creating this end product is what I was talking about, the data set layer, right? And now data set is a middle layer that sits between your data sources and dashboards. And now today, let's take an example, right? And I'm talking about two personas here. So let's say there are two teams, right? One, I am the central team that manages, let's say, Redshift, or is worried about how my data is being used. And then there are business teams like marketing team, right? So the marketing team wants to do analysis about their campaign, right? Now, how would I go about thinking about this process, or how would a person who is in the central team think about it, right? So if I'm in the central team, what I would do is that I would think about connecting a core data where I can put in all of the definitions and nicely defined metrics, descriptions in one central location. So the sales detail data set is one of the examples. So let's say I have all of the sales data coming in, and this is coming in from Redshift. I have all of these columns that come in from the table connecting to the source, right? So these are coming in directly. And I also have metrics that are defined in this, and I have called them out separately. And I make sure that, hey, these are the metrics, these are the names that for profit amount, I want everybody to use it. So for example, I can also do is I can create calculated field, like I want a ratio of profit to sales, right? How much profit am I making as a ratio of sales? And I can define that in that central location to make sure that everyone else in the company is using these metric and definitions that I've defined as a central data set. So that is point one. And as a central data set team, that's what I would do. Fast forward, take two. I am a marketer and I don't know about anything to do with the data set. I'm not really aware of joining the data or this table that is coming from Redshift. I don't want to deal with Redshift, right? I just want to work in QuickSight, and I have a campaign data that I recently announced, and I want to understand how my sales are getting impacted with that campaign data, right? Now, previously, what I would do is that I would have to rely on a technical user. Not anymore. In QuickSight, what I would do is that I would create a marketing data set for myself. And how I would do that is that this is the marketing data set that somebody provided to me as a CSV. Maybe this is a partner team that provided me that, hey, this is your marketing analysis. And this is the sales data set that I just created. So I have all of the metrics that were defined by somebody who knew about data, who knows where the data is coming from, and I don't have to worry about whether this metric is right or wrong. I just take it and then use it for further enhancement of this data. As you can also see, the profit to sales ratio, which I just defined in the previous data set, also shows up automatically in this, right? And I use the marketing sales CSV, and how I did that is you would just add data from here. You would say upload a file, and then you use marketing data, and you upload it. And how you would do is that you would use the join between the two tables. You would say, okay, I want to join on city. You can select the join type, or we in fact take the default optimization based on what we understand from the data and suggest to you what is the join that you would use. And if you don't know what a left join means, we also show it to you by showing you a small message. And that's what I meant by not having to understand what the concepts of these data joining is, right?
Can I just say, I love that little diagram, the Venn diagram, like inner, left, right, full, like the number of times when I had to do like an ETL job, and somebody wanted me to join data, and I had to do a quick Google search and be like, okay, what do I need to use? Inner join, outer join, left, right, and have to read through the guide, again, make sure I was getting the right join type.
Absolutely, right. So that's really the beauty of so again, a marketer, I don't feel that they should know about joins or learn about joins, right? They might know, and that's great for them, right? It's amazing that they know about it, but they don't have to, right? And that limitation should not let them not ask questions on business data, right? So that's really the motivation behind introducing this functionality. And if you see, you can continue building on this, right? So if I created the sales detail data set as point 1, then I created the marketing data set as level 2, and then I can use the third level, which is again using the first data set that, data is not available from this source. So, but you can remove this and add. Let me show you how it works. So new data set, create from data sets, and you can use the marketing data set detail and use it in a data set. So there is, right? So the reason why this is not working, and I now understand, is that the ingestion is happening at the back. So there are two things that I wanted to also cover, is that you can connect the data from QuickSight in two different ways. One way is you can connect it directly to your source, or you can connect it via Spice. And this is Spice. So right now, the data is not available to be used in, and I think there's ingestion happening in the background. But
so can I say this is so cool though, because like normally, I would have these different data sets like SQL and like CSV, and I'd have to write something really complicated to join this data together. But what I'm seeing is this is taking different types of data set from different sources, joining it together automatically. And then if I understand correctly, I can take that join data and then join it again with some other data, like multiple levels deep.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Some questions here really quickly. First, how many levels can we go? Like how many, I saw like we can have a child, can we have like a grandchild layer? Like how many layers can we go here? And then really quickly after that, can we just touch upon what's Spice for everyone in the audience?
Yes. So let me answer the first one first. So right now we are starting with the 3 levels to begin with. There is no real restriction per se, but we wanted to make sure that user understands as they introduce dependency, and if they change anything, of course, all of these layers downstream are going to affect, right? In fact, in a data set, we also inform that, right? We inform in managing of the data set, we say that, hey, there are data sets that are dependent on this, right? So we show the lineage or the usage of this data set, and you can go 3 level deeps right now, right? Which we are planning to extend that in the future. And the second question that you asked was, what is the difference between Spice, or what Spice really means, right? And here is a label, Spice, showing you that this is a data set. So Spice is really our caching. Think of that as a caching mechanism for us, right? So we want to make sure that the end user experience using should be snappy, should be really fast, right? And sometimes that's data sitting in the sources can be slow, right? So those sources might not be as fast. So what you can do is that you can bring in data into your cache, something what we call as Spice, and you can and that is really your data, which is super fast, consistently performing, and it scales, right? It scales to any number of users that are running those queries concurrently. So that's really what the benefit of Spice is. So QuickSight, as I said, can be used in either of those two mechanisms. Direct query, where you are directly contacting your source system, or you can spice the data and cache it.
I can say that Spice sounds amazing because I've been in the situation where we were doing direct queries and we had one too many people hitting the system at the same time with big queries, and everything was falling over. And so, if I understand correctly, the Spice protects me from that. I could have my underlying Postgres database, which is like a single box sitting there, and maybe it isn't that powerful, but now I can have a variety of different people actually querying the data through Spice without overloading that single box that's running my Postgres.
Yes, and also sometimes you don't even have the underlying data source really to say for query. So if you have sources like Excel sheet or CSV files, right, where do you want to store them? So Spice does that for them, right? So it helps you combine and mishmash data and bring it all in one store.
I love also how the data source behind this doesn't get touched, right? So that doesn't get messed up. That doesn't change. People can work on this without affecting anything else over there. So that's also a really interesting feature there. Where do we learn more? Where can we find out more about this? How do we get started?
Right. So you can just go to QuickSight is free to sign up. You can just go to AWS aws.amazon.com/QuickSight, and you can just sign up to try it out. And I would highly encourage, because as I said, for technical, non-technical, there is no bar. So there's no prerequisites for you to try this out. And this is pretty cool. There are some sample data sets and dashboards that we have made it available for you to learn. Right. So I would highly encourage you to get started from there.
Awesome. Well, I can say this is very exciting, and I love the ability to just pull in these different data sets, join them right there in QuickSight without having to write a bunch of complicated SQL queries, a lot of complicated logic to read different data formats and munge them together. This looks like something that I wish I would have had at some past startups.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one more final question from Jish. I am a deep technical guy. What's in it for me? And I can comment on this a little bit because I've been in that space where I've been the technical guy who writes the SQL queries. But you know what happens? The marketing people, they keep coming back and asking for, I want you to prepare this query. I want you to do this ETL. And what ends up happening is now I can't do my job doing that deep technical stuff because I have to do so much data analysis amount of work. And so here, what you can do is you set the system and you say to the marketing folks or the product folks who want to analyze things, you say, it's in your hands now. You have the power to do this. You don't have to bring in the deep technical guy. to do it for you. And so now your time is freed up to start writing that code and solving those deep technical problems you want to solve.
Exactly. I mean, there is for technical folks, that's really the benefit, right? It frees up your time. It helps you do or go deep, right, and not be bothered about the ad hoc questions that come your way, right? So for ad hoc questions, and you have to write a query, you have to context switch, and all of that, you can just pass it on to QuickSight and then let QuickSight take care of it.
Okay, so with that, it's time to move on to our next QuickSight segment, where we're going to be back in a few seconds talking about another new feature for QuickSight. Thank you very much, Shailesh.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.